What's up, Dragon Brood? We are now at the release of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, but we still have a couple more deck lists we want to put out here for you. So these should be launching the morning of. So hopefully, as y'all decide to log into Arena, you'll have a few more deck lists to pick from. This one is going to feature Light Pause, I believe is the name of the card, and it's actually really cool because the deck's built around auras. And this is something you don't really get to do that often, but I think we can build a resilient enough deck that we can make it worth it. So let's go take a look at what Azorius Auras might look like with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Okay, so we have a couple of issues in deck building here. The first is that we have to find creatures that either give us immediate payoffs or are hard to deal with to put the auras on in the first place. Otherwise, you're just losing value and you get 2 for 1, then it just feels bad, right? The other thing was also playing auras of different cost, so that because of Light Pause, whenever you play one, you get to go search for one that costs less than that one. So it was also trying to figure out what casting costs of which enchantments are we willing to play, and do they have enough of a payoff for playing them. So there was a few moving parts you kind of have to solve for here, but I think we got pretty close. So starting at the top, a card that I probably don't play as much as I should, and that's Chaplain of Alms. It's a 1-mana 1/1. It does have First Strike. It also has Ward 1, and it comes back from the graveyard as well and gives your stuff Ward, so we love that. But realistically, this is a matter of, one, having First Strike, and we do have some auras that give it bonuses, whether it's +1/+1, +2/+2, whatever. So that makes it a little harder to deal with. But it's also harder to remove. The opponent has to dedicate more mana to getting rid of it, which we like. So, good choice for this deck overall. One of the enchantments we're playing, or auras, I guess technically enchantments, however you want to talk about it, auras, that we're playing, is Fly. Just give a creature flying. We love that, right? Enchanted creature has flying, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. So we can venture, get some bonus value, but realistically, we mostly just want to give a creature flying. This will do the job, and we get bonus stuff. We're playing 3 copies of Spell Pierce. This is a new reprint. I say a new reprint. It wouldn't be new if it was a reprint. A reprint in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, just to counter those sweepers, maybe some spot removal that may be coming at one of your creatures. And because it costs 1 mana, it's very good for this deck. And then we're also trying Valor of the Worthy. Give a creature +1/+1, and when this creature leaves the battlefield, you get a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. 1, you get a token. 2, the token's flying. And 3, it says when this creature leaves the battlefield. Not when it dies, when it leaves the battlefield. So if it gets bounced, if it gets exiled, whatever, you still get something for it. And that's good because it leaves something on the battlefield that you can still put auras on. So really like that in here as well. Now, a card we played in one of our other lists this past season that kind of has gone under the radar a lot is Cradle of Safety. It's a colorless and a blue with flash, and the creature, you enchant a creature you control, and then when it enters the battlefield, the enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn, and it gets +1/+1. This is good just for protecting your creatures. Like nothing more, nothing real wild going on here. It's just a general good card to protect those creatures that you're putting, possibly, all of your eggs in a basket in some cases. We are playing 2 copies of Dorothea, or Dorothea, if you're from the South. But really, we're just kind of hoping it dies so we have 1 more aura to put on something. But it is a 4/4 flying either blocker or attacker at least once, and that's nothing to turn your nose up at. Now, I'm not generally one to play 4 of a legendary creature unless it's really good. However, Light Pause Emperor's Voice is kind of one of the big cards in the deck, so I wanted to start out playing 4 of them. It's a colorless and a white for a 2/2. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you can search your library for an aura card with a mana value less than or equal to the aura with a different name than each aura you control. Put that card on the battlefield attached to Light Pause, then shuffle. So there's a lot of things going on there. Like I was talking about in the opener, you have to play it, and first you have to cast the aura. Then you can go search for an aura that costs less than that. But it also has to have a different name than what's on the battlefield. right? Which also means we have to have a good selection of auras. One of the reasons we like having some of these cards with the Disturbed ability that can come into play as Auras, because it gives us other cards with different names and whatnot or whatever. And it gives us more triggers. So, like all that. Then we have a couple of Runes of Flight, again, trying to give our creatures flying and evasion, so we can just come over the top, not have to worry about them chump blocking our 1 or 2 attackers. And this draws a card, which we like, and it costs 2, which lets us get access to that Valor of the Worthy or Fly, and that's kind of nice too. We have a couple copies of Shajiri Shelter. Not really an aura, but we're skimping on land anyway, so this can be a land if necessary. And it just gives something protection. The other cool thing about protection from a color is sometimes you just use this as a kill card, right? If you have a creature that's a 4/4 or 5/5, and your opponent has, say, just a green blocker or just a red blocker, you're like, okay, well, just give it protection from that and then attack. Now, the one thing I will say is you do have to be careful not to give your own creature protection from white or blue if it has one of those enchantments on it, because then all your stuff falls off. So, it's something to keep in mind. Like, just keep that in the back of your brain so you don't make that mistake. Then we have Spectral Steel. Gives a creature +2/+2. You can pay 1 and a colorless when it's exile this card from the graveyard, and then you return another target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So basically, a creature gets +2/+2. While this is in the graveyard, you get one of your auras back. And that's good too for obvious reasons. Just getting to cycle some of the auras you spent earlier, get more value out of them, and just make them go further, which we're all about. Now, how we talked about some cards just having more value or being able to be protected, well, you have Stormchaser's Drake, right? The Drake's actually pretty cool. We played this in a couple of lists already last season as well, but it's a colorless and a blue for a 2/1 flying. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell you control, you draw a card. Well, since we're playing auras, basically everything that lands on them is also going to draw a card. Actually, just targeting them is going to draw a card. So we like that too, right? That's just getting extra cards in our hand, allowing us to cycle further. And if you notice, everything in this deck's pretty cheap up to this point. Like, everything costs 2. We're just now getting into some 3 mana things. So your casting cost, your average cost in this deck is very, very low. So you should be pretty efficient overall. Now, this is one of the new cards I was really wanting to explore in this list, and it's Born to Drive. 2 colorless and a white. Enchant an artifact or creature. And as long as this permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 for each other creature and or vehicle you control. Now, it does have channel as well for 2 colorless and a white. You can discard this card and create 2 1/1 pilots. Now, what I like about this is we're going to have a few times where we're making some spirit tokens, or maybe you're playing your 3rd or 4th creature out, right? This is going to give a big bonus to a creature, but they also kind of work in redundancy, right? If you go ahead and cycle one, or if you channel one, I guess, and put it into the graveyard, well, now you got 2 extra creatures, but you also gave the creature originally enchanted with Born to Drive 2/1, or you gave it +2/+2 effectively, right? So really like this card in this list. It also costs 3, which is another thing. So it allows us, if there's a light pause out, to go get something that costs 2, which a chain you can consider is playing Born to Drive and then go get something like Rune of Flight so you can draw a card and then maybe do something else, right? Or get Spectral Steel to give something else a +2/+2, and do that as well. So there's a lot of cool little things we can kind of move around in different parts. But I like what this deck's doing and some cool ideas with these different cards. We're playing a couple of Brian Comer, mostly because, one, it makes another token when it comes into play, which we like, but it also can be played out of the graveyard with Disturbed, and that gives us another aura to put on something. So not upset about that. It fits perfectly in here. We are playing Geist Light Snare. It's 3 mana, target spell, and cost 1 more, and costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit, and 1 less if you control an enchantment, which hopefully we will have both in this deck because we are playing both those. And then it makes the spell you counter cost 3 more. You can play it straight up, even for 3, and it's fine. However, we do have some creatures that count as spirits. We obviously have a bunch of enchantments, so there are going to be a lot of times you're going to get to play this for 1 blue. But we're just going to give it a go, see what's up. And between that and Spell Pierce, we at least have a little bit of defense of things that might be dealing with trying to target our creatures. We're playing 2 Catilda. Maybe could have got away with the 3rd one, but I'm only playing 2 in this list. But Catilda shown up in a few of our enchantment lists at this point. But colorless white for an XX creature. X is equal to the number of spirits and enchantments you control, and it has flying, lifelink, protection from vampires. If you play it out of the graveyard for 5, it gives the creature +X for the same thing, flying, protection, and lifelink. This card's just good, early and late in this deck, and it's a great one to enchant because then you're just getting bigger and you're getting more link out of it. So nothing to complain about on this card either. It's this is one of the decks where if things work, this card could really shine. As far as lands, we're playing 1 Cave of the Frost Dragon, 4 Deserted Beach. We're playing 2 Eiganjo because we don't really have a lot of removal or any in this deck, so Eiganjo is actually pretty cool to give us that option. We're playing some Hingegate Pathways, a full set of 4. We're playing 2 Otawara, which is one of the new channel lands. And then we're playing 3 islands and 4 plains. So not a real complicated mana base. We're just trying to get our colors early, get stuff going. But overall, if you look at the deck, it's actually should be pretty easy to cast most of your stuff. Nothing requires really more than one of a single color, either blue or white, be into play to be able to cast stuff. So it should work pretty well, even though, like I said, we're skimping on mana a little bit. Now, overall, this is actually a pretty fun build. Like, this is something that should be fairly cheap to build, outside of having to have the 4 light paws, because those are pretty critical to the deck. But a lot of the other stuff is pretty low cost, or it's stuff like Eiganjo and stuff that you're actually going to play in other lists anyway. So yeah, this could actually be a good starter one right out of the gate if you're looking for something to build. Depending on if you open maybe a couple of light paws in your first few packs, this could be worth building and trying it out. But yeah, this should play fairly quick. It's also going to have a lot of evasion with the spirits and the flyers, and you just have a lot of recursion, you have a lot of card draw, so like a lot of fun stuff going on with this deck. So yeah, one I think should be fun and worth checking out. But if you want the deck list, it will be down in the description below, like always. And if you haven't, please consider hitting that join button and helping us out here, because I know some of you would like to support us on Patreon. We don't have a Patreon channel, but you can support right here on YouTube, just like if it were Patreon, just for as little as 99 cents. Also, even if you don't do that, remember to like this video, because that helps so very much, and then hit the subscribe button and share this if somebody else you know is interested or maybe looking for something to do with light paws. And most importantly, after you subscribe, hit that notification bell and choose all notifications so you don't miss any of the gameplay videos that are coming out with a bunch of these decks I put out. What is it, like 13 or something now? Over the course of this preview season. But that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.